Dario, you're pretty upset about public funding of private education. Chat a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a story that's kind of under the radar because of what's gone on this week. But the UCU, the University College Union, has provided evidence of government failings in its accounting of public money given to private for-profit colleges. And this is part of the sort of murky world of privatization of education, which is stealthily and not so stealthily being pushed through. So the Public Accounts Committee, which is led by the formidable MP Margaret Hodge, she interrogated several civil servants from the Department of Business, Innovation and Skills as to the massive expansion of private education providers without the proper checks and balances. So these private colleges are accused of setting up bogus courses, recruiting students who then drop out and keeping the money for the allocated places. So the BIS Permanent Secretary Martin Donnelly, when questioned by Margaret Hodge, he couldn't tell the committee where the figures were for the amount of money, public money that had gone into these private education structures. So this is kind of an example of the endemic lack of regulation over higher education in its kind of transition into this neoliberal commercialization of the sector. And this is money that could go into the state education system. It could go into the HEFKI fund, or as bursaries, for example, for those from working class backgrounds. So, as we've seen globally, the provision of education is something that needs to be fought for. Like healthcare, prisons, I think it's too important to be left to the moral vacuum of the market.
Why do we keep getting this so wrong? I mean, I look in the United States where, just again as part of the budget deal that was just signed, that $1.1 trillion crumnibus it's called now, there were more giveaways to the banks and to those who give student loans as opposed to the students who actually need them. Pell Grants have been frozen for a number of years, and it just seems to be that the one part of the economy that continues to get crushed are the middle class students who are just trying to get an education. Those who can afford it don't care, but those for whom it's important, they come out of school with thousands of dollars and pounds in debt.
Is it something to do with this sort of icon of kind of bringing private enterprise into things like education, and they think that should sort of trump everything? I mean, Dario, this is an example, isn't it, of where money has been spent unwisely. I mean, as far as you're concerned, is it the tip of the iceberg?
Yeah, I think it is to a certain extent, and I think it's a part of this kind of wider culture that the economic imperative for education fundamentally trumps, as you say, the kind of social and cultural need of education for its own sake. So the way that universities is structured and the way that a lot of courses are taught now, it's simply and only about what jobs a student can get when they leave. And also, politicians can't seem to be able to sell education to its electorate as being, a good thing in and of itself. It has to be deemed to be something that creates wealth.
Yeah, but yet you look at Germany, who's gotten it so right. I mean, they've basically, on so many levels. I mean, there was an article, I think it was in Slate, that we produced on UK Progressive Magazine, where they were talking about why Germany gets things so right. They seem to do both socialism and capitalism right in a way that one doesn't rule over the other, that they do take care of people. Like they came out with that program to make sure that tuition was available for everybody, and yet we seem to get it wrong.
That comes out to money, doesn't it? I mean, the root of it all is money, and that, as Dario was saying, the commercialisation of things like education and making money out of it. I mean, there are things that are, you can't make money out of. Well, they shouldn't be left to the market, should they? Not everything, and things like education and health, I would suggest.
Prisons
are good of themselves, aren't they? I mean, here's an example. You'd have thought something like this, where millions have been misspent, will make them wake up, but it almost certainly won't, will it, Dario?
Well, I think it's endemic of this shift to the markets being seen as the sole saviour of everything, and the impossibility or the difficulty now that governments have in regulating those markets. So it's almost as if there's a shift in a balance of power where laissez-faire capitalism. I'm a capitalist in one sense, but it has to be regulated capitalism.
Agreed.
Dario, can I just say you've got fantastic Yorkshire sweatshirts there.
Yes, this was my. I was going to mention this later on, but it's my kind of little token of seeing the Tour de France start up in Leeds, which was going to be one of my non-political moments of the year, I suppose. Going to see that, it was great.
And ladies and gentlemen, we've just had Phil's fashion report for the 19th of December, 2014.